Hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. Coffee with Bearded Bad here. This is my first time live. I wanted to come and tell you guys all about my experience of my stay at home. Well, do you call it a stay at home sleep study or at home sleep study? I'm a stay at home dad. So there's that. Um, I wanted to get together with you guys and discuss that, what my at home sleep study was like. I apologize for not looking at the camera, but my camera's way up here and I kind of have to look at my screen, but I'll bounce back and forth. I just wanted to go live, tell you all about my at home sleep study, which didn't go very well, but that's all right. Um, I wanted to try this out, this live thing, see what this is all about. I've never done anything like this before. I'm nervous, but I can't really say I'm all that nervous because like it's like this. I am all alone here in my garage. You know, there's some people in the house here. This is my studio in the garage. And then so being a first time live streamer, I wanted to try this out because I've heard all kinds of stuff about how tough it is to go live, how much practice you get out of going live, and just how fun it is. I've heard a lot of stuff about that, but I'm all alone today because I didn't plan anybody to come and do a live with me. I guess I should have, but meh, it is what it is. I'm glad you guys are here with me today. I see I don't have anybody watching live right now, but it's okay. I am first time live, so I don't even know how to go upon doing this or what to necessarily talk about other than what I planned to talk about this morning. But I'll probably have a few stories here and there, but to go ahead and start talking about what what I wanted to talk about today, my at-home sleep study and how that went. It didn't go very well. I I've been sleeping with a BiPAP for probably I don't know 5 years or so. It's been yeah, it's been about 5 years. But I started sleeping with a BiPAP machine because I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, which is pretty weird thing to be diagnosed with because it's like you don't see that you don't see sleep apnea, you don't feel sleep apnea, you know. So it's one of those things that's a weird diagnosis to have, but once you start sleeping with a CPAP or BiPAP, it's very difficult to sleep without it. And that's the trouble that I ran into last night. That's I tried to do an at-home sleep study with, and so the equipment that I had, it was just a belt that goes around your chest, and then a little, you know, a little piece of equipment it's just like a little, it's no bigger than a watch, really, a stopwatch. And it was on my chest, and then I had a wire coming out of it for a pulse ox that goes on your finger. And then I had a hose that went around my ears to my nose, and it went to the little machine. And it was it like an air hose, like an oxygen hose or oxygen tube for your nose. And it wasn't uncomfortable at all. It didn't seem uncomfortable at all. It's just that pressure that I had going into my airway with my BiPAP. It makes it easier for me to sleep. And when I go to sleep, I know I'm going to stay asleep. And last night, as I was going to sleep with the at home sleep study on, everything on, I had the hose on my nose and the chest belt on and the pulse ox. I was comfortable. I was using my phone, laying there and just kind of hanging out and trying to get tired. And I did get tired, and I put my phone down and started to drift off to sleep. Every time I drift off to sleep, oh man, what's going on? And it was very difficult for me to not just get up and put on my mask and go to sleep. And it was very difficult not to do that within the first 15 minutes or so. But I did drift off to sleep. I slept for probably 20, 30 minutes. And that was it. I couldn't do any more. I laid there awake for a good hour trying to get back to sleep, and it just wasn't working. And so an at-home sleep study for me, I don't think it's going to work unless I do something with a um, machine where I'm hooked up to a BiPAP or a CPAP machine, and they read my results. I think that's the only way I'm going to be able to do that from home. And I don't know, maybe it's just a weird thing with me that I just can't sleep without my BiPAP or CPAP machine on. And I don't know very many people that have sleep apnea that are able to sleep without their machines. Um, and that's kind of weird, right? What if we don't have power? What if we want to travel and there's no electricity in the tents or whatever the case may be, and there's no electricity. Well, that means I'm not sleeping for the night. So it's kind of weird. It sucks sometimes, but it is what it is. My at-home sleep study didn't go very well. So I didn't even sleep enough for the machine to pick up anything. It did pick up a little bit like while I was sleeping, but there's just not enough there to do anything with. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it in and see what happens. But if it's not enough information, I'm just gonna have to do a sleep study somewhere in a facility, a hospital, and just go from there. But I don't want to. It's kind of weird going to sleep in a hotel in a hospital. It's kind of like a hotel though. So the way the sleep study works at the hospital where I live, you go in and they hook you up to all these electrodes and they put them on your head and your chest and they couple on your legs, and you look kind of like Medusa with all these things coming out of your head, all these wires and stuff, and you're connected to a machine. There is a lot more wires and it is more uncomfortable at the hospital, but it's not. I can breathe. That's the problem with last night. I couldn't breathe. I felt like I was suffocating, and that's not a good feeling, especially when you're trying to sleep. So I just I freaked out a little bit, I guess. I got claustrophobic, and but when you go to the hospital, all that's different. They have the ability to make you feel comfortable. They have, all these machines hooked up to you, yes, but they also help you maneuver your body to where you can lay down and get comfortable and finally fall asleep. They help you get comfortable. If you need help moving around with all the wires and everything, they come in and they help. And then, like, so my sleep study at the hospital doesn't take near as long as so look over here at the camera. I got my cat behind me messing up the curtains and stuff over here. It's kind of funny. Um, but anyway, um, so when you go in there, you go to have your sleep study. They do make you comfortable and all that stuff, and it's not like a hospital room. The Where we are, it's kind of like a hotel room. That's what it feels like. That's what it looks like. Is a bedroom, like a hotel room or a motel room rather. It's got a bed there, and there's obviously a window in some of the rooms where they can observation window where they can look in and check on you. And as you're sleeping, it doesn't take near as long as an at-home sleep study. They tell you they want like 7 to 8 hours, but if you don't sleep that long, or if you can't get comfortable to sleep that long, just a few hours of data I had few hours of data that they had recorded, and that was good enough for them. And so um just a few hours, I'd say, of data will suffice for some people. Now there's probably other people that have to have the full 7 to 8 hours worth of data to really compile. Or if you didn't have any apneic problems during those times while you were at the hospital, but you're like, dead set that you have sleep apnea or whatever. it is kind of, you do have to have some data, but when I go to the hospital, it doesn't take near as long to do a sleep study as it did. They wanted me to have 7 to 8 hours for the at home, and I've never done a sleep study away from home in a facility or anything that wasn't that I actually got 7 to 8 hours. It was more like I did go to one, the longest one I stayed and did for a sleep study. It was like 6 hours. Now that wasn't bad. I slept for a good 4.5, 5 hours, and they said that was enough data for them. They said right away, almost right away, I started going into an apneic state. And what sleep apnea is while you're sleeping, you either hold your breath or you stop breathing for a period of time, and it's the weirdest feeling because you'll be sleeping, and next thing you know, you'll be waking up, gasping for air, and it's not a very good feeling when you feel like that, and it's scary sometimes. Uh, Before I was diagnosed with sleep apnea, I kind of knew I had it, but I would I'd go to sleep at night and be afraid to sleep, afraid I wasn't going to wake up, or I'd just be so uncomfortable, and my nose would get all full of snots, and um, I just snore all day or all night while I was sleeping. So my throat would wake up. I would wake up, my throat would be all dry and swollen from snoring, and it just not good. And sleep apnea is very, very dangerous. If you do have sleep apnea, go to a doctor, get that checked out. The at-home sleep study it wasn't good for me, but it may be good for you. Um, it may not be what you want to do, but it's kind of what you need to do. You need to get that checked out, or at the very least, like rule it out, because sleep apnea is very dangerous. It can cause blood pressure issues. It can cause, if you're driving down the road and you're sleepy, and you just slept 8 hours, and you slept 8 hours, but you feel tired. You could be driving down the road, fall asleep, and kill somebody. That's what I worried about. I worried about my family, the safety of my family. I worried about, um, I worried about my health, obviously. I also worried quite a bit on other folks, the safety of other folks while I'm driving. Am I going to fall asleep while I'm driving? Am I going to? Sometimes when I woke up in the morning, it'd take a long time for my eyes to adjust, and they'd be watering while I'm driving down the road. Is that safe? Probably not. So, if you got sleep apnea or you think you got sleep apnea, definitely go get it checked out. And so it's like 6 o'clock in the morning here, and I had all intentions of waking up this morning, going live with you folks, talking about my at home sleep study and how big of a success it was, but it wasn't a success at all. And man, it's kind of terrible for me, but I'm going to figure it out. And I've already got a BiPAP machine. Since I've already been diagnosed with sleep apnea, I can sleep. I just need new equipment. And in order to get new equipment, I have to get a new, uh, not diagnosis, because I've already been diagnosed, but I need a new prescription for new equipment. The equipment that I have is really, really old. Um, it's I've been, on a machine, a BiPAP machine, for at least 5 years. So it's pretty old, and I need new equipment. And I can't get that new equipment without a prescription, and I can't get the prescription without a sleep study. So the first sleep study was, obviously, I think you have to these days go and have your first sleep study done at a clinic. I'm not sure on that, but my first one, I went to have my sleep study done at a clinic and not at home. So that process of, putting on all the wires and getting uncomfortable and all that, that process was all essentially just part of it for me. And that's all I knew. And the at home sleep study was really comfortable, but I just couldn't sleep. So it was really difficult to stay there, lay there awake, knowing I wasn't going to sleep, knowing what I had planned this morning. And no, not only do I plan to go live with you guys this morning. Not only that, but I'm a stay-at-home dad. So my wife leaves for work every day at 7 o'clock. She's still here right now. She's in the house, but she leaves and goes to work here in about, 45 minutes. So after that, I'm going to be by myself with our 5-year-old, and I've had maybe 3 hours of sleep. So today's going to be kind of rough. Yesterday was Father's Day, and my Father's Day was pretty rough. So, here's some coffee, and I'm going to try to enjoy my day. It's starting out pretty good. And, for a first live, I don't think I'm doing too bad, and I'm comfortable and I'm having fun. I certainly, I certainly didn't think that I'd be here talking to you guys with no sleep. I figured that I'd at least get some sleep, but in the middle of the night, it wasn't really the middle of the night. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning. I got fed up and I took everything off and I put my machine on and I went to sleep. But I got up and I went outside and kind of got my breath a little bit, and I enjoyed a cigarette. I shouldn't smoke cigarettes, but I do. Um, I enjoyed a cigarette and I came back in and went back to sleep, but I just didn't sleep that long. And of course, I got up at like 5:30 a.m. to come and hang out with you guys, which is okay. But I think I've rambled on a little bit, too much about the sleep study and everything. And I just want to, hey, big country, how you doing? You're the first one to stop in here and talk to me. I just need a BiPAP. Yes, I have a BiPAP. That's what I have, is a BiPAP machine, and that's definitely what I needed. So I spoke to my sister a few years ago about the type of machine she has. She has, so I don't know if she has sleep apnea or it's just helpful for her to sleep with a BiPAP machine. I think she's got sleep apnea because it's like a family thing. But I was talking to her and I was telling her I can't use a CPAP machine. It's like I get claustrophobic with the CPAP machine. And CPAP is constant air coming in. And whereas a BiPAP, it's as you're taking in a breath, it's higher pressure. And when you're trying to exhale that breath, that pressure drops down. So it's not as hard for you to push out that breath. So the BiPAP machine is definitely where I prefer, because I didn't have to struggle to push out that breath. So yes, a BiPAP machine is just what I need. And I actually have one. So thank you, big country. Thank you for stopping in and hanging out with us. If you got any questions or, whatever, if you want to talk about something, just throw it up here in the chat and we'll discuss it. I don't know how long I'm going to be on here today, because, this is my first time going live, but, enough about the sleep study stuff. Let's talk about the weekend, how hot it is in the Midwest, man. I don't know if it's hot in any other parts of the country. I know it's, down south, there's a little bit of heat, but it's just uncomfortable as hell this weekend. And I had plans. We were supposed to go to the zoo this weekend. We had planned that last week before we knew it was going to be hot this weekend. And we had a group of friends that were going with us and they were going to hang out with us. And we ended up not going because of the heat. The group of friends that we had going with us, they weren't too excited about going in the heat either. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess. But I had also had an interview for the podcast scheduled on Saturday. That didn't work out, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to go live today, is because I had some content stacked up a few weeks ago. And then I had a recording snafu and I had to put out that content. And it's just one thing after another. And so after my interview fell through on Saturday, I didn't have any content to put out today. So that's what I'm here for. I'm having the Coffee with Bearded Bad Dad podcast live today, and it's my first time going live. Not really all that nervous, but I just don't know what to talk about because I didn't plan this out very well. I mean, who could talk for an hour about an at-home sleep study? It's kind of, it's it is what it is. But anyway, the weather this weekend kind of sucked. It was hot on Saturday. We were supposed to be going to the zoo. We were supposed to go to a baseball game this weekend. We didn't get to go to that either. I mean, we went and hung out at the baseball game for a little bit. So it wasn't like a waste, but um it was we were late getting there. It was hot. So it was what we just hung out for a little bit and left. So it is what it is. Um and then Sunday was Father's Day, and we didn't really have any plans for Father's Day. What coffee today? Today I am drinking. So I'm drinking my usual today. It's Starbucks. Uh, I don't know if it's French roast or if it's, well, it's either French roast or, oh, hell, I can't remember the name right now. My mind's blanking out, but the baseball game was, the Mustangs baseball game here in St. Joseph, Missouri. It's not like little league or anything, but it's not triple A. I think it's double A or something like that. I don't know. It's not professional baseball, but minor league. Um, and they've been here in our small town for a long time, so it's not like they're not like a farm team or anything like that, but they are fun to watch, and they do fireworks at night and everything. So the baseball game was pretty neat. How about those volunteers? Hey, the volunteers, the Tennessee Volunteers. I'm telling you what, I'm so wrapped up in this podcast world that I do a lot of studying, I do a lot of research, I do a lot of talking to people. And so, one of my favorite pastimes is watching professional sports and trying to get into college football. And my favorite college football team is the Tennessee Volunteers because my brother-in-law James, who's a really fantastic guy, I really want to hang out with him soon and get caught up soon. I was supposed to go to his house on Father's Day and go hang out on his boat, but I didn't get to do that. That sucks. But anyway, my buddy James, my brother-in-law, he introduced me to college football, and he's been a college football fan for a very long time. And the Tennessee Volunteers are his local team. And so I'm like, I'm not really into college ball. And he's like, man, you gotta watch. You gotta watch just one game, just one game, just watch one game. And I was like, okay, I'll watch, not thinking I was gonna get into it. And it just happened to be one of the Volunteers' best years recently. So the game that I watched, I can't even remember who it was. It wasn't Alabama, but I did watch that game, and that was one of the coolest games that I have watched in recent memory. It was the Tennessee Volunteers put a whooping on them, and that was pretty fantastic for me to see. And I became a Volunteers fan at that time. I was like, man, I got to keep watching these guys. So I'm not a big college football fan, but I am more of a fan now than I was. But with this podcasting thing and doing all the research, talking with people, I find myself getting more immersed in the I get more immersed in the world that I'm in, and I have severe ADHD. So it's like, do I pay attention to the podcast? And I tell you what I am doing. I am watching a lot of baseball nowadays. So it's baseball season. But my favorite sport to watch is NFL football. Really love football. And it seems like the more I go on with the podcast, the more I go on with the the research and the talking to people, the more I find that my old pastimes, my favorite hobbies of the past, I don't know if they were really hobbies or is just trying to keep me busy, um, and keep my mind occupied. But now that I have my mind occupied, I find it hard to find the time to do the things or enjoy the things I loved before podcasting. But I'm having a hell of a time with this. I love it. This is so fun. I like talking to people. I like meeting new people. And this has been wonderful for my anxiety. I have a lot of anxiety, and like 5 years ago, I would have never been able to go live with you guys. Right now, I'm just talking to the audience, and before I wouldn't have been able to talk to. I would have been like, who am I talking to? And um, I need somebody in the room to talk to, but really it's more than that because I know I've got people out there watching. If they're not watching right now, they will be. So I'm doing a live and I'm gonna get better at this. Uh okay, so I got some comments coming on. You need to go back and watch the Volunteers and Florida State ball game. They won with a walk off. That's the hey, hell yeah. I'm into that kind of stuff. So I was watching I was watching the Royals game on Saturday, and I think it was Saturday. It's like the top of the sixth inning, I think it was. Anyway, Melendez, he's a baseball player on the Kansas City Royals. He is not having a very good year this year as far as batting average. He's kind of struggling with his bat, but they had a pitcher that was struggling for the Dodgers. I think he was like 19 pitches in, and he had loaded the bases with walks. And so Melendez was coming up, and he's like, man, I'm not having a good year and not having a good season. Well, he went out there and he got like 11 pitches in and crushed a home run. So he got a grand slam. And that's one of my favorite things to be a part of when I'm watching sports, is for those big moments like that. You get all amped up. And Mookie Betts' hand got broke yesterday. Oh, that's not good. Man, I kind of missed that because I didn't watch the game yesterday. So I wanted to watch the Royals game yesterday. It's Father's Day. I wanted to enjoy my day doing what I want to do. But my 5-year-old thought he wanted to watch YouTube on the television, the big television, and wouldn't let me watch the baseball game. So it was like, lots of people are like, oh, kick him off there. Do what makes you happy and this, that, and the other thing. But, sometimes you have to pick your battles. And that's what I say. Sometimes you got to pick your battles. Do I fight with the 5-year-old to get the television and watch the baseball game, to just ignore him all day, for like 3 hours, just ignore him for however long? And do I, or do I let him have the TV and let him watch YouTube and just kind of enjoy my time with him? So that's what I decided to do. I picked my battles. I let him have the television. I just interacted with him instead of watching the ball game. But Mookie Betts broke his hand yesterday. That's not good. Mookie Betts is a hell of a ball player. Thanks for that comment coming in. I appreciate everybody watching. Thanks for joining me. It's really had hit by pitch. That sucks. Man, that's I've never been hit by a baseball, but them little baseballs, they in the professional leagues and MLB, they get going, 100 miles an hour. I think I've seen a 105 mile an hour fastball one time. Could you imagine being hit by a baseball at 105 miles per hour? Wow. And the pitchers have been hit by baseballs coming back at them from the batter. Can you, like, the exit velocity on some of those balls, like 110, 120 miles an hour. So it's wow. I couldn't imagine being hit by like a baseball going that fast. I would probably crumple into a ball on the ground and just start crying. I'm not a I'm not a weak person, or pain doesn't bother me all that much. But I'm telling you, 105 mile an hour fastball in the thigh. Oh my gosh, that'd be crazy. I got some more comments coming on. Set the stage for me. Bottom of the ninth, first batter, local kid from Lewisburg, Tennessee. Oh wow, gets a triple, then fly out run scores. The best player in the NCAA is up. Let's go. Thank you for setting the stage for me. Christian Moore got a cycle, only the second in history. The last one was 1956. Really? Got a cycle, only the second one in history. And the last one was 1956, then down 3, no one on base, 2 outs, get a single and then another run, or get a single and then another single, and now 2 on base. All right. Well, you can tell I'm not an announcer, but if you're an announcer, you're watching live and commenting on the game. I'm reading some comments down here in the chat, and that's and I appreciate, the update here. Then a double and 2-run score. Wow. All right. So we're talking about, if you're just joining us, we're talking about yesterday. There was a baseball game, Royals. I think it was the Dodgers and Royals. They were playing yesterday. I missed the game because my 5-year-old was tying up the TV with YouTube. And like I said, you got to pick those battles. It wasn't that I wanted the TV bad enough to fight over it or whatever. It's just, hey, sometimes you got to let them win, and we're talking about Mookie Betts broke his hand yesterday, hit by pitch. And I got somebody in the chat that's helping me fill me in on what happened yesterday. And I'm just going through and reading these comments as they come in. We've already set the stage, and I'm going to go ahead and read these comments one more time to kind of, give the people listening a more cohesive, conversation here. We'll set the stage for you. Bottom of the 9th, first batter, a local kid from Lewisburg, Tennessee, gets a triple. Then fly out run scores. The best player in the NCAA is up. Christian Moore got a cycle, only the second in history, and the last one was 1956. Then down 3, no one on base, 2 outs, get a single, and then another single, and now 2 on base. Then a double and 2 runs score. Then another double and 1 scores. Now tied up 11-11 with a man on second. That was Friday's volunteer game. Oh, okay. So 2 outs, and they hit another double, and Tennessee wins by 1. Hell yeah. Okay. So we're not talking about Mookie Betts broken his hand. We're talking about NCAA baseball, Volunteers versus, let's see, Volunteers versus who was the Volunteers playing? If you could tell me that. And we're talking about, oh, no worries. I'm a very confusing kind of guy. I've spent most of my day confused. I'm just trying not to confuse everybody out. But this is my first live, so this is great practice. And hey, just to be honest, I know the person that's in the chat right now, and I'm going to give him a call later and thank him for coming on and hanging out with me. And because this is my first live, and I was very nervous to kind of do this. I'm not as nervous, but like I'm sweating profusely. Like if I show you guys, like it's 6 o'clock and 6:30 in the morning, and my armpits are soaked. So I'm definitely taking another shower after this because I'm all sweaty. But I've had a great time. It's my last. My biggest fan is in the chat. Thank you very much. I think so. I think we're going to have to fight over that, the biggest fan title, because sometimes I'm my own biggest fan. But I appreciate you coming and hanging out with me. I think I was going to talk a little bit about some life stories, and we got it a little bit into baseball. We got into. I appreciate that, James. Thank you. You are a bigger fan than me, that's for sure. Because yesterday I was having a lot of self-doubt. Yesterday I was thinking about quitting the podcast altogether because I'm struggling so hard to get interviews. And I'm good at this whole podcasting thing. I'm not the best, obviously, but I can talk, and I love to talk, and I love to talk to people. I love meeting new people. I love hanging out. I've got really bad ADHD, really bad anxiety. And believe it or not, this whole live thing, it causes a lot of anxiety, but there's there's kind of a high there. Like when I push myself to do something that's really anxiety inducing, like hanging out in large crowds when I don't really want to, there's something I get out of that. Is it's so it amps me up, it gets me going, it gets the anxiety, gets the momentum going, and I just lose. It's not necessarily that I lose fear, it's just I stop being afraid of fear, and I lean into it, and it makes me feel good. It gives me oh, I can't even describe it. What Because I've lost the word now, obviously, because I'm trying to look for the word, but it is exactly what I needed. Thank you, James. Um, I don't know when it came to me really, because I was sitting here thinking last night about going live, and I wanted to tell everybody about my at-home sleep study and how that went, which it didn't go very well at all. And I've got a few more people in here now. So just to recap what I've talked about over the last half hour or so, I've talked about like my at-home sleep study. I was supposed to wrap it around my chest and sleep all night and everything. And I couldn't sleep much more than 20, 30 minutes. And I had to take the thing off. I laid there for like 2 hours, didn't get any sleep. I ended up taking it all off. I got like 3 hours of sleep. The wife's getting ready to go to work. I've got to stay home with the kids all day today. And I'm tired, but I'm going to make it through. And we're going to go here in a little bit. I'm going to go in there. We're going to wake up the kids, and it's going to be a normal every day. But we've been talking about sports a little bit. And so the live thing, where I got the idea from that is, like I said just a little while ago, and if you're joining us, I had thought about doing a show about the sleep study and what that was going to be like, but then I didn't have any content to put out this morning, and I was like, well, it's kind of like Bill O'Reilly says, fuck it, we'll do it live, you know. So it's kind of like that, it is exactly what I needed to kind of reset, remind me what the hell I'm doing this for. I'm here. We're doing this thing. And I thought about quitting yesterday. I was having a rough day because the interview that I was going to record on Saturday, I was really looking forward to it. And stuff does happen. Like, I can't blame the person because the person that I had scheduled for the interview, they didn't cancel the interview, but they had to reschedule. They had the difficulty, something happened, an emergency popped up, which things happen. It's not anything negative towards this person, but didn't have, I didn't have I wasn't ready for not having any content put out. And when that happens, it kind of puts me in a bind to where I have to have my wife on the show. And she just happens to be my co-host. And so I will have her on, and I'll be like, what do you want to talk about? Because I know if I talk about the things that I want to talk about, I will bore her. And so to give her some of the to give her uh some of the attention that I do give to my other guests, I'll like say, hey, what do you want to talk about? That way, because I can talk about anything, and especially if it's anything she's interested in, because we've been together for 18 years. So it's not like she's a stranger. Anything that she's into, I can get into as well. And chances are, if she's into it, I probably know a little bit about it, so I can talk about it. And so I ask her, what do you want to talk about on the podcast today? And then not even asking her, like, do you even want to be on the podcast today? And so sometimes I run into a little issue where I'm I'm a little overzealous in wanting to put out some content, because I know I can just sit here and talk. And I know that not everybody's like that. I don't really necessarily have to have anything to talk about. I can talk about anything. Like during the live here, I'm in the chat, and I'm interacting with people in the chat. They have something to say, and hey, I appreciate that, but I don't necessarily have to have a chat to have something to talk about. But it's great help. But sometimes I run into the issue where I'm just not prepared. And so what I do is I just work on the fly, which is okay for me. I can do that. But expecting my co-host to do that time after time is just weird. Like I got somebody in the chat right now. I can talk for days about anything. And the person that's in the chat, I did have plans to have this person on the show. And I'm like, hey, let's do it. Let's get together and I can do like a Zoom. I prefer to do an in-person interview, but the person in the chat's my best friend, so I could talk to him literally about anything. James, so he said, put me out there. James Thomason is his name. He's a former police officer, Memphis PD. He did some other work in other jurisdictions, I believe, but right now he's one of the best HVAC guys in Tennessee because he had gotten into an accident, and the accident hurt his back. It was a car accident. He was in his patrol car, got rear-ended really hard, and so he had to give up his career as a law enforcement officer, which he loved. But then he got into the HVAC game, and he's really good at it. So, hats off to James. He lives in Tennessee, and the company he works for services the entire state of Tennessee. And before I give them a shout out, I'm going to ask him if that's okay. Is it okay if I give the company a shout out, James? And I'm going to wait for a response before I move on. But yeah, okay. So Hiller out of Tennessee, Hiller HVAC Systems. I don't have the information pulled up in front of me, but happy you'll be, or your service is free. Call Hiller today. They work in Tennessee, all over the state of Tennessee, and they may be outside of Tennessee by now, the big outfit by now, but he's one of the best HVAC guys around. Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical out of Tennessee. Give them guys a shout out. I give them guys a shout if you got some AC issues. I know it's like hot this week and into the coming weekend. So you got some HVAC problems in the state of Tennessee, give Hiller a call. Happy you'll be, or your service is free. But anyway, so shout out to my best friend James in the chat. I am actually absolutely going to hook up with you, and we're going to figure out a Zoom interview. We'll do a Zoom interview. Former law enforcement officer, current HVAC technician, and married to one of the weirdest people in the world, my sister. So we'll definitely get together and do a Zoom interview and podcast, but that'll be a fantastic time. But best woman on planet. So you say she's the best woman on planet Earth. You're only married to her. I've known her my whole life. Wait a minute. So I got Big Country and James in here. I wonder if I got my sister and brother-in-law in here. That's neat. Jennifer, is that you? Hey. My wife's in here. Hey, thanks for coming on, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This has been a lot of fun. Awesome. Thanks for coming in, guys. It's really great. So back to the conversation here about this weekend and this weekend's events. So, hey, Will, thanks for stopping in. This is great. And I've been on here for, oh, hell, we're going live. We're live for 45 minutes, and I'm not sure. So, hey, everybody, what's your opinion? Should I take this live down after a while, edit it, and put it out on the regular channel? Because so on the channel, on the YouTube channel, there's lots of tabs. Okay, I've got a no answer on the chat. So on the channel, there's tabs where you have your videos, you have your shorts, and then you have your live. And my question was, should I take this and edit it and re-put it out where the videos are? And I've already got a no answer. So and go live more often. I would definitely go live more often. I actually have a setup to where I can go live with 2 people, and I think that may be the way to go. No edit. Thank you, Will. Will, and actually, you live here in town. Will, we can get together and do a live too. So, uh, I appreciate you guys stopping in here and talking to me. So anyway, so back to the life's events, life, love, and the pursuit of happiness is what else I was going to talk about this morning. Uh, the pursuit of happiness. My pursuit of happiness so far is the podcast, and I was just talking a little while ago about how I was just going to give it all up yesterday. I was going to quit. I was so frustrated because I keep running into an issue where I can't land interviews. I'll get an interview. A person will say yes to an interview, and then either they'll cancel last minute or they won't show up. And so it's like without putting these people out there, it's not their fault. Like the cancellations that I've had are understandable cancellations. It's not like uh it's not like it's not like they meant to say like the things that I had come up, the cancellations that I've had, it's not like they said, "Oh, I just don't want to do the show, so I'm just going to lie." I mean, they had legitimate things pop up, so it's not like it was that I wasn't prepared for a cancellation. And that's happened like 3 times now where I wasn't prepared for a cancellation. And just starting out, it's kind of nerve-wracking. You want to put something out there. You want to keep on your schedule, but I never thought about going live. I never thought about taking the show and like as a matter of fact, if I wanted to go live on the road, I could do it on my phone and I could talk to you anywhere. So it's not like it's not like it's not like I would have to rush to put anything out. I just got to get up really early and come do a live, and that's fine. I love doing that. It's cool. It's my first live, and I'd love to actually have somebody to go live with. If I'm just talking here and riffing, it'd be nice to have a person to talk to that's reading the chat, so I don't have to read it. But that'd be cool. uh, and I, like I said, it's. I'm gonna have to mute myself here because I got a cough. All right, so it's not like going live was that difficult, but it is kind of nerve wracking a little bit when you don't have anything to talk about. I've already talked about all the things that I wanted to talk about, but all right, a lot of sports cast live, and they have a huge hey. So I could talk about sports. I could like talk about baseball. Hey, my wife, come here, say hi to everybody.
Hi.
So, anyway, so that's my wife, my co-host. She's getting ready to go to work, and like we're 50 minutes into this live, and I'm not. I'm still really nervous, and I'm kind of rambling on. But yeah, sports content. The reason why I don't do a whole lot of sports content is because it's difficult. The sports teams that I follow are, I follow the Kansas City Chiefs, the Kansas City Royals, and that's really all I pay attention to. Especially now, it's really all I have time to pay attention to. But it's, I would love to do. I've had actually a couple podcasts about sports. The Chiefs. We did a Super Bowl reaction video. It kind of sucked, but and it didn't encompass everything that I wanted to talk about. It was kind of when the podcast was still new and I was nervous and trying to put out a good show instead of what I wanted to do, which you'll have that all the time. But just being a new podcaster, I'm still trying to find where we fit. I'm still trying to find the optimum audience and where we go. Oh yeah, the idea of live is the point. Really do fun with yes, absolutely. I would love to actually do that. Live events, current life events, current events. That's what I would like to do is when something big happens that I want to talk about, I'd like to go live. And like, right now there's not a lot of big things going on near me, but a lot of national things. Um, like I talk about conflict a lot. Right now, there's a Russian flotilla in between Cuba and Florida. When that news broke, that's something I could have talked about on a live for a few minutes and kind of get everybody updated and tell everybody what's going on. And so that's definitely a good idea to be able to like go live when current events happen and be like breaking news and stuff like that. But, like, how many people are on YouTube though when news breaks? Like, should I go live just on YouTube? Right now, we're just on YouTube. I'm going to share this and share it to Facebook and X, Twitter, whatever. I'm going to do that. But should I go live on those platforms at the same time I'm live on YouTube, or just share my YouTube video? I think that I think just sharing the YouTube video to those platforms will be good enough. I think that'd be, I think, I don't know why that wouldn't be, if direct everybody to the YouTube video, share with you a few I watch privately to hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. We can, I can absolutely, I can actually, I'm set up to do, I think we can do a live Zoom. I'm pretty sure we could do a live Zoom. I'm going to have to look into that, but I'm set up to do that so I can talk to somebody clear on the other side of the world. I am set up to do live and Zoom at the same time. So, thank you, Will. Sounds like, hey, I appreciate that. And hey, any suggestions that you guys might have? Anybody that's listening out there, any suggestions that you guys have? If you want to hear us talk about a certain subject, to just put it out there, I'm 39 years old. I've been a stay-at-home dad for 10 years. I've got 21 years of parenting experience with children under the age of 18. My oldest is 21. My youngest is 5. 3 of my children have ADHD. 2 of my children have anxiety. 1 of my children is autistic. We may have 2 autistic children. I don't know. We haven't had the elder one tested, but the doctors tell us to get him tested. So we may have some other kids with autism. So I have a lot of parenting experience. I've got a lot of life experience as well. And my idea with the podcast is I just wanted to get on here and talk to people and tell people about my interesting life, share my interesting life with everyone else, and talk to other interesting people and share their lives and their stories. I've got a guy here in the chat who was a guest on the show. His name is Will Jones. And how I met Will is, hey, he was my pest control guy. He was doing pest control. I needed some pest control. Like, we have ants really bad, and I've got some problems with some wasps. And so we called pest control. I was talking to Will. We had talked about the podcast, and then he started telling me his story. And his story was, he's just a regular guy, and he was having some mental health issues and some actual health issues. And he wanted to get out there, and he wanted to shed a few pounds while helping his mental health. He's like, hey, I'm just going to start running. And he's now a marathon runner, and he's worked his way up to half a marathon, and he's going for a full marathon in September. And you're welcome for the shout out, Will. The reason why I'm shouting you out is you're an incredibly inspirational person. And that's the biggest reason why I wanted to start the podcast, is to share inspirational stories, inspire other folks to either start their own podcast or just live life with purpose. Make yourself happy, because hey, if there's anything that yesterday taught me, is you have to worry about your own happiness. Nobody else is going to worry about your happiness for you. So you have to find where you fit. And if sometimes that means making yourself uncomfortable, that's what a lot of us do. Will, I'm sure he gets uncomfortable running. I'm sure running 17 miles isn't easy. Neither is running 26, which is a full marathon. I didn't even know that until Will had come and talked to me. But it's like all of those stories and all of that inspiration is what I'm here for. Those stories lift me up, and I know how it makes me feel. And so I wanted to share that with you guys. And that's the whole purpose: life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what we're all about here. See ya. My wife's going to work. And, I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me. And this is my first live. So, hey, I apologize. It's kind of awkward. It's the first time for me, but I appreciate you guys coming in here and hanging out with me. I'm going to jump off here pretty soon. I'm hanging out with the grandkid this morning. September 28th. All right. You're welcome, Will. And hey, we're going to get together probably in October and do another episode with Will where he talks about running the marathon. And I'm going to try to go check him out on September 28th and watch him run a marathon. 26 miles. Man, I couldn't walk 26 miles. Thinking about that makes my brain hurt. So it's like, that's what I want to share: inspirational stories to help motivate people to, if they're not where they currently want to be, how they can go there, how they can work towards that goal, how motivating just talking to people can be. Thank you, Will. We'll see you later. Thanks for joining us. So how motivating other stories can be, to hear struggles, someone else's struggles that you may not know, and you can identify with those struggles, and you can be like, man, I felt that. Man, this guy feels me. It's not necessarily that I feel you. It's not necessarily that I even know what the hell I'm talking about. It's that I enjoy talking to people and I enjoy lifting people up. And because I like that myself, I like people lifting me up. I like hearing fantastic, motivating. So I even like hearing crazy stories, entertaining stories. And that's one of the things I wanted to share too. So if you got a crazy ass story, tell me about it. We'll share it on the podcast. If you want to be a guest, like, hey, you don't have to be famous to be a guest on my show. That's kind of where I wanted to go with the podcast as well. Everyday people. Because a lot of times I watch podcasts and it's nothing but famous people. I don't have anything in common with famous people. Like, we have some of the same interests, but there's not a whole lot of famous people that know what it's like to currently, know what it's like to live hand to mouth, or paycheck to paycheck. And the vast majority of America lives paycheck to paycheck. So with the podcast, if I have a bunch of famous people on to tell motivating stories, like, can everybody identify with that? Like, I'm sure they're just normal people too, but at the same time, like, I'm real with everyone. Like, I don't have a bunch of money. I'm broke. I'm terrible with money. Um, we live paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes that's what happens. And I think sometimes people need to hear from other people that are kind of like them. And so when you see a celebrity on a podcast and they're talking about their life struggles, I can't identify with that, because my biggest struggle right now is I don't have any money. And all my problems right now could be solved if I had more money. And I don't know very many celebrities that are like that. So it gives a humility to this show. And even if I reach a point where I've got the income coming in, I'm no longer living paycheck to paycheck, I'm still want to be that grounded guy. I still want to be that everyman because that's what I love about myself. I'm not I am just a regular guy. And I'm nobody famous, nobody special. And even if I get there, it's like, hey, in order to keep me grounded, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing, right? And I think that's something special about this show that I want to carry on. Eventually, I'd like to do this Monday through Friday. I know it probably won't happen for at least another year, but during summertime is a difficult time for me to record content because I'm a stay-at-home dad. And stay-at-home parents often don't have time during the day to do much of anything but take care of the kids during the summer. And so when fall comes, I'll be able to do stuff during the day while the kids are at school. I'll be able to have interviews. I'll be able to do a lot of the things that I can't do currently, just because I've got a young child. My youngest is 5, and so if he was maybe a couple years older, I might be able to work while he's here, but he needs a lot of supervision. So it's not like I can just come out here in the garage because my studio's in my garage. It's not like I could just come out here in the garage and hammer out a 2-hour interview and not have a 5-year-old in the same room. And it's just not right to him to be like, hey, go in there, daddy's gonna work. And that's not right. So being a stay-at-home parent definitely has its challenges. Like I don't have time to do anything during the week. Now the weekend, that's where I shine because my wife's here to pick up the slack. My wife's here to hang out with the kids while I work. But man, she works a lot too. So she actually has 2 jobs. And so I can be a stay-at-home parent. That's not why she has 2 jobs. But about 10 years ago, we had decided that together that it would be beneficial to have a parent in the home with the kids. And at that time, we only had 2 children in the home to worry about. And so fast forward 5 years, we had another one. So we had 3 kids in the house at the same time. That's a lot of money to be putting out for daycare. And so it just wasn't cost beneficial for for me to work. All my check would be going to pay daycare. And out of the 2 of us, my wife and I, she has the more earning potential. I didn't even graduate high school. I just got my GED. So out of the 2 of us, she has the more earning potential. She also has a hell of a work ethic and a hell of a drive. I don't have that. I've got work ethic, but I don't have drive or motivation. So it is kind of strange, a role reversal, if you will, but there's nobody better to take care of our kids than us. And my wife decided that she would be okay making that sacrifice so I can stay home with the children. Number one, I may not be the best dad in the world, but I am a good dad. So it's like, you know, the kids like me. I like them. I like hanging out with them. I like being home with them. And I don't like the 9 to 5 grind because that's what it feels like to me. It feels like a grind. It feels like you're never going to get ahead. You're never going to own the business yourself. So why put in a lot of work for very little reward? Because I'm not educated and I didn't think that I had the capacity to earn like my wife. And I've since broken out of that mold and I understand now that I am worth what I think I'm worth and to just go out there and get it. But once you've been home for like 10 years of being a stay-at-home dad, going back into the workforce, I tried it. It didn't work out. Like nobody was happy with it. And it wasn't just me. I had a lot of anxiety when I left the house, But it wasn't just me that wasn't happy with it. My wife also wasn't happy with me working away from the house because it meant that I wasn't here to take care of the things that I normally did. And that kind of put it on her. And that's not right either. So we both decided that I was going to be a stay at home dad. Then as time went on, it was like, okay, I can go back to work now. The kids are in school and it's time to go back to work. And then we had another baby. So uh that's how I became a career stay-at-home dad. And I started this podcast as something to kind of give me something to do. And some because I'm always watching podcasts, I'm always talking to different people. I love hanging out with new people, love talking to new people. And so the idea of a podcast came. And I was like, hey, I can do a podcast. And I understood and I knew how much work it was going to be. I knew it wasn't going to be easy, but I took it on. And then after we started the podcast, I started to delegate things that I should be doing myself to my wife, which wasn't fair. And I looked at it as like, can I get a little bit of help, and not necessarily thinking about overwhelming her. And that's what I essentially did. I pushed so far and I was like, well, let's go ahead and do this, and ended up not being fun for her, certain parts of it. And so I realized yesterday, hey, I need to get off my bum and do things for myself. I need to get things going. And this is my thing, not her thing. And it took a lot of thinking. And I wanted to quit so bad yesterday. But then I had this idea to go live and just see what it's like. I can delete this later. I'm not going to, because it's went really well. And this is great practice for me. But that's what my initial thinking was, hey, if I don't like it, I can delete it later. Just go live, see how it goes. Fuck it, we'll do it live, right? So, uh, so that's an old Bill O'Reilly thing. He was on, I forget like what news station he was on, like Fox News or something. He got all pissed off because, well, who knows why? He's like, fuck it, we'll do it live. And so I thought that was hilarious. We put it at the end of our last episode. It's at the very end, and it caught me off guard, and I almost spit out my coffee or listening to it back. But it's so funny. But live isn't for the faint of heart. But I definitely didn't think it was going to go this well. I didn't think I was going to be like, I've been on live for, going on an hour and 10 minutes. I didn't think it was going to be this fun. I didn't think it was going to be this easy. As I was outside this morning, smoking my morning cigarette, I was like, man, what the hell am I going to talk about? I've only got about 15 minutes material that I planned out, which was talking to you guys about my at-home sleep study and how bad that sucked. That's really the only thing I had planned this morning. I didn't think that it was going to go an hour and 10 minutes. I didn't think anybody will do it live. Thank you, Will. I didn't think anybody was going to be watching this early in the morning. I do forget that this is a worldwide platform. So, some of the people that are watching may not be watching here. So going live, it was like a no-brainer once I thought about it. Once I got that idea, I was like, yeah, I should do that. I didn't have more than 15 minutes of material, and we've been recording here for almost an hour and 10 minutes. Not recording, live. And I've been having a lot of fun. People are popping in here saying hi. We got some people in the chat and everything. And we've talked a little bit about the at-home sleep study, life, love, and the pursuit of happiness, stay-at-home parenting, because I'm a stay-at-home dad, for those that are just popping in here. I was talking about why I started the podcast as a stay-at-home dad. And I have to say the biggest thing that caught me off guard is how many people enjoy the content and how many people talk to me because of the content. Like, hey, your show is really great. I'm really enjoying what you're doing. I can't count how many people I've come across that are lifting me up in that direction, and they are telling me, "Hey, you're doing great," you know? And so my cat's over here. Uh, so I yesterday I had a just a moment where I was feeling sorry for myself. I was angry. I wanted to quit, but I don't want to quit. That's what I was struggling with. I don't want to quit, but at the same time, it's such a struggle sometimes. Literally a curtain climber right over here. Literally. Get out, Dexter. So, um, I just man, the podcast is such a great motivator. It's a great time, like it's a huge time suck, but it's great, you know. It's a good time. I have severe ADHD, and it so far it's helping me learn how to actively listen to a conversation and not just tune out. That is one of the things that I struggle with in my daily life is when I'm talking to somebody and I'm not interested in what they have to say, I will just tune out. And I end up missing important pieces. And so with the podcast, I can't do that. I can't carry on a conversation with somebody and not listen to them. So that was a huge motivating factor there. And I did notice that really early on that I had if issues interrupting. I had issues staying focused, staying on task. And so I'm not medicated for my ADHD. It's really not that bad to me. It does affect my life. Would other people be able to deal with the ADHD that I deal with? I don't know, man. I've been living with it my whole life. I've been like this my whole life and didn't get diagnosed until I was an adult. And they're like, "Oh yeah, you've got really bad ADHD." But I didn't know. So I've been living like this my whole life, and to me it's normal. So it's one of those things that I didn't know that I was doing until I listened to myself back on the podcast talking with other people. I'm like, man, I interrupted that guy 100 times. That's not good. You know, that's how you lose people in a conversation. And so it's helping me with my active listening skills. It's helping me not be as nervous when I go to talk to people. I have really bad anxiety too. And that's one of the things that I struggle with is anxiety in combination with ADHD. And this podcast has been amazing medicine. The anxiety issues. So I kind of go the opposite. I lean into my anxiety and it helps me. I lean into anxious situations and it does something to me where it kind of gets me a high. And uh for a lack of a better term, it gives me a high when I do something extremely anxiety inducing and I live with that anxiety. It's a weird, I don't even know how to explain it. But like let's just say roller coasters used to cause me severe anxiety and now I can't get off of them. I love roller coasters. Um Skydiving is something I would never in a million years do probably. Until somebody, hey, you want to go skydiving? Yes, I do. And it's not because I really want to go skydiving. It's because I want to feel that anxiety high. I want to feel that rush, that adrenaline. That's the word I was looking for, adrenaline. I think that I get a certain high off of an adrenaline high from doing anxiety inducing shit. Like I wonder if that happens to anybody else. I know I've heard Joe Rogan talk about putting yourself in difficult situations and it's actually helpful. And so I know Joe Rogan talks about that, but he doesn't necessarily talk about anxiety inducing situations and pushing through that and how rewarding that can be. And so it's kind of like it's very like rewarding. And so we'll jump off that subject for a minute and segue into what it's like to have this stuff going on have a podcast that's, I mean, it's not a successful podcast, but it's not a a flop either. So we're on other platforms. It's not just YouTube. So we have, downloads, we have, listens and other stuff like that on other platforms. But I didn't want to go live on those platforms. It's far, like the only lives that I watch are on YouTube. So that's where I went. But the podcasting, what it's like to do this and also um take care of a family, and I'm having a huge issue with scheduling because I have to go on everyone else's schedule. My wife's schedule is very, very, very important because she's the breadwinner, right? So she works, I stay at home with the kids. So her schedule is very, very important. So I have to follow her schedule. Well, she's busy Monday through Friday, like most of the day. So the only time that I would have to do podcasting Monday through Friday is with her good graces. Hey, are you going to be available? Are you going to be here to back me up with the kids? And it either works out or it doesn't. But we do have our own little village that we have to take care of the kids. But I didn't have that before. And I was just working on the fly. I didn't have anybody to say, "Hey, can you come get the kids while I do an interview?" Now we have a couple people that I can go to. So it's one of those things that's very difficult to get started if you don't want it. And it's very difficult to keep going. I do want it, but I do want to keep going. But I ran into an issue where, is the podcast causing a problem for everyone else, which is in turn causing a problem for me? And I thought that, like, I thought that I was making people unhappy with some of the things that I was doing and some of the things that I was waiting on other folks, where I should have been just doing my own thing without worrying about those other folks, without worrying about how they may feel. I just discuss things. And if they tell me to go for it, just go for it. I was having a lot of issues with that. I was having a lot of issues coming up with a schedule without my wife being like, well, like I do this and like you're going to have to stop because I've got to go to work or I've got to do this or I've got to do. I didn't want to affect my wife's schedule. But more than that, I didn't want to affect the kids' schedule. The kids have to go to school. And now it's summertime. We've got one kid in summer school, one kid at home. And I didn't want to affect them. I wanted to be able to do my thing on the side without bothering anyone. And as it turns out, I was kind of pushing a few things on other folks that I probably shouldn't have. I was asking folks to do a couple different folks to do things I should be doing myself because this is my project. It's not my podcast, but it's our podcast. It's my project. This is what I wanted to do. So I probably should be doing a little bit more of the work myself. And I was caught up in a lull where, I'm running out of content and stuff. And instead of pushing for more content, I was thinking, well, I'll just have my wife on in between. I'll have my co-host in between interviews, and that's going to be okay. But she doesn't really have all the time in the world. And I was wanting to do it during the week when reality says we should be doing it on the weekend. So that's where the idea with the live came. Instead of asking my wife to be on the show again and doing a regular old boring show, I wanted to go live and talk to you guys. And hey, we've had people in here, people in the comments. I've had lots of people watching. Now I'm starting to have people drop out, and we're going on an hour and 20 minutes of live. I think I'm going to wrap this up. But I appreciate everybody coming out, seeing us, and hanging out with me. And well, my wife is in and out. I appreciate all the love and support in the chat. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. We'll see you guys next time. I'm going to plan another live show, and I'm going to tell everybody that it's coming next time. We did this at, I decided at 10 o'clock last night that I was going to do this. And we put it out on the community tab, but I didn't really have a chance to build up, hey, we're going live this week. Hey, we're going live, and next time I'm going to definitely do that. So with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.